Hi guys, welcome back. So we've got a fallow week, so I was going to do a round 3 preview, select some teams, see what you think and chew the fat a bit, to be honest. So start with Wales versus England, which is probably the tie of round 3. Many billing it as the decider of the Six Nations. It could be, but there's still a long way to go. I think what is clear from the table is that actually bonus points now in the Six Nations are quite important. But there's plenty still up for grabs. I know England have got 2, but they might not get a bonus point in the next 3 matches, and other people might get 3. So it is all still up for grabs. So Wales, I don't see a huge amount of change in their pack. So Rob Evans, Owens and Francis, the front row. I think Samson Lee is close to a start. And in fact, you could argue it because I'm going to start Moon, and I think Moon is going to start for England, who's a very strong scrummager. Then maybe Lee's the better scrummager, and that might be a good reason to go for Lee at tight head. But anyway, I'm going Evans, Owens and Francis. Beard and Alan Wynne-Jones are definitely Wales' #1 choice at the moment. It's probably going to take a lot to break that partnership now. Could that be the World Cup partnership? Has Beard come up on the rails and taken that World Cup starting spot? So that's quite a big story really, and hasn't been talked about a lot. But anyway, so that front 5 the same. And then in the back row, we saw some decent performances from the guys against Italy. And Thomas Young, for me, makes the bench. I think he's that good. I think he's got a good impact. He's a very good ball handler. But Josh Navidi at 6, with Tipperick at 7, then Moriarty at 8, I think is definitely their strongest back row at the moment. Loads of cover, loads of handling, loads of physicality, everything, and they're all interchangeable, which means you can take kind of a specialist like Thomas Young on the bench and still cover the back row absolutely fine. So very strong pack, almost full strength. You might want a couple more to choose from, so that's going to be a real good battle against the English pack. In the backs, Gareth Davies, I'm still giving the nod at #1. Only just, he hasn't been spectacular. He needs a big game. I mean, if Thomas Williams, who is coming on, I've got on the bench to come on, if he has a really good game and Gareth Davies doesn't, then there's some serious pressure put on Davies. But at the moment, he's my #1. Right, number 10, this is the big talking point. I thought they'd have it sorted by now. It's not. It is an issue. What do you do? Now, the fact that Lee Halfpenny is back, I think just tips it in my mind. So I start Gareth Anscombe, and Lee Halfpenny can kick the goals and take the pressure off Anscombe, and he can just run the play. If Halfpenny wasn't fit and available, then maybe I would have gone bigger. So it's that close for me. Please comment and let me know who your number 10 is. At number 12, Hadley Parkes is only just hanging on to that spot for me. We've got Watkins staying on the bench. He had an okay game against Italy. That was a big chance for him. I don't think he fully took it. But I think Parkes is still there by default, although he needs a big performance. And what a better team to do it against than England at home. Jonathan Davis has that number 13 shirt nailed down, not a problem. George North stays on the wing, and like I said, Lee Halfpenny to come into fullback, which means Liam Williams, who has been very good so far, moves to the wing. So some strong points to their backline there, but still a question mark about 10. Hadley Parkes needs a big performance, but all in all, very strong team at home. The bench is pretty much the same. Wynne-Jones, Lee, Corey Hill. I've put Thomas Young on the bench. I wouldn't be surprised if Gatland didn't pick him actually. Thomas Williams as the scrum half replacement, Bigger, fly half replacement, and Owen Watkin as the backs replacement. So nice balance, very strong, plenty good enough to beat England if they have an absolute stormer. So good lineup. Now for England, big injury was to Mako Vunipola, who you can't replace. He is that good that there is no one comparable. In fact, I think I'm going to do a video after the Six Nations on depth and true depth, because a lot of people use the depth, they bandy it around very freely for anyone who could do a job at international, and for me that's not what it means. So Moon or Genge is going to start. I definitely think they'll start Moon, and I would start Moon because he is the best scrummager and you want to start solid, and Genge is a powerhouse, and it makes sense to play them round that way, impact off the bench. But you're going to miss Mako's ball carrying, his handling, his experience. So yeah, a slight worry for me there, definitely. Far from ideal. But then George and Sinclair staying the same, and the rest of the pack staying the same from the last game versus the French. They all went really well, so they should be pretty high in confidence. Yes, you're missing a Toje, but Laws is very similar in his athletic ability, so you don't lose as much as the Mako loss. So very strong, close to their full strength, not quite. It's going to be, like I said, a really good matchup against the Welsh forwards. The Welsh scrum has really impressed me. And when they step it up, their physicality, we've seen it in patches, they can be excellent in defence as well. So comment below, see who you think is going to get the best of the packs there. In the back line, pretty similar, in fact exactly similar for me. Ben Youngs, Owen Farrell 9-10, Johnny May and Chris Ashton staying on the wings. I didn't change those wings around. I would have liked to have seen Thokanasiga into the squad, but I believe he's been sent home, so I don't think he's going to feature, which is a shame. I'd have him on the bench at least, but he's not going to play, so there's no point me picking him. Manu and Slade carrying on with their excellent combination. And Manu was actually a little bit quiet last game, I thought, so he's due a big game. And he's actually got a few demons to get rid of. When he played Wales, whenever it was, 2013 maybe, he had a very poor game. He got hit early on, I think, by Jonathan Davis, and he didn't want to know after that. So I think he's a more mature player now. Then Daly at 15. Now on the bench is interesting. So you've got Cowan Dickey at hooker, who's actually really impressed me. A lot of people haven't mentioned him. I really rate this guy. I think he's quality. Genge for loose head replacement. Williams coming in for Cole Tighthead. Cole's been sent home. I think that's the right call. I mentioned it last video. Williams is definitely the better player at the moment. Launchbury and Hughes, the big heavy boys coming in off the bench. Then Dan Robson is going to have to stay on the bench because I don't believe Kerr's been called up to the squad, and Robson's been sent away to play and get some game time to kind of just remember how to play rugby, really. But still not sure that was managed correctly. They haven't really got him hardly any game time, so it's a worry. If Youngs went off early, it's a definite worry. Like I said, Robson is a good player, but he looked very nervous last game, and coming in early to play Wales in Wales could be a bit too much. So I would 100% have brought back Kerr, but it's not going to happen. George Ford covering 10. Then it's probably Jack Nowell, and I'll probably pick Jack Nowell on the bench, but I'm very tempted to put Teo on the bench because I know it doesn't cover as well. England play much better with that big guy at 12 for me, so they can keep Farrell at 10 and keep a big guy at 12. I think their shape in the back line is just so much better. And if they don't have him, they have to bring Ford on at 10, say. They have to move Farrell away, which I wouldn't do. If he's playing well and he's fit, I'd keep him on for the whole game. You can just about cover it with Slade going to 15. He's played plenty of 15. Daly would then have to move to the wing. Tuolangi would have to move to 13. So you'd have to shuffle a lot more, but I think it would be worth it. So go on, I'm going to say Teo on the bench instead of Nell. Okay, moving on to France versus Scotland. So on form, you'd say Scotland have got this one wrapped up. But it's in France, and we see how well the French played in their first game, in that first half. I thought they were fantastic against Wales, actually, and then they obviously imploded, whatever you want to call it, in the second half. And Scotland have got a few more injuries now, which is starting to mount up, and the team I'm going to name is going to be slightly weaker than what they could normally field, and it is a bit of a worry. It'll be very dependent on how France play, obviously. But anyway, so front row as is, Dell, McInally, Bergen. I thought they went really well, McInally especially. I can't see any point changing the second row with Gilchrist and Gray. Gray definitely added some bulk, I thought, into the Scotland team in that first half versus Ireland. You can make an argument for Toulis playing instead of Gilchrist, and it might depend on tactically what they think France are going to bring. Anyway, you've got Ryan Wilson injured, which is a massive blow. He is an in-your-face player, the sort of player you want on your team, but probably hate to play against. So they're going to have to reshuffle. So I'd probably move Ritchie to 6, bring Harley in at 7, and Strauss staying at 8. And I think it's just slightly weaker back row than if they had Ryan Wilson in there, or a couple of other guys that are unavailable, like Watson. Anyway, that's going to be interesting to see how those guys go. A little bit shaky possibly there. Luckily though, Laidlaw and Russell are playing really well, especially Russell. He just looks on top of his game, so he could be in for a bit of a worldie, who knows. In the centres, Johnson I really like alongside Finn Russell. I think Johnson can really play, he's exciting, he's attacking, and Russell likes that alongside him. Jones is out. He hasn't been spectacular of late, Jones, but he's still a miss. I imagine Harris would come in as a like-for-like there at 13. The injury to Hogg is a problem, but Kinghorn's a good player. I would prefer Hogg in at 15 and Kinghorn on the wing, but Kinghorn at 15 is where he plays, so that's fine. But Sean Maitland, I haven't been impressed with at all. I think he's just lost a bit of his dynamic ability of his younger days, but he's going to have to stay in along with Seymour. The bench pretty much as is, front 5 replacements, then Graham coming in to cover the back row. Peter Horn will probably be there to cover all the midfield and 10. Now is McGuigan fit? Is he going to be fit for this game? He could be a guy to bring in potentially. But anyway, let me know what you think of that Scotland team. On form, they should beat France, but it's a slightly weaker Scotland team. France at home, have they got another big 60 minutes in them? Can they put it together? We'll see. The form says no. So Scottish fans, you should be okay. Touch wood. Ireland versus Italy. All change for me here, definitely. World Cup preparation time. Don't worry about the championship. Do what you were going to do anyway, I'd say to Schmidt. I'm sure he will anyway. So I would ring the changes, give people valuable game time. It's still going to be a good team and very interesting to watch, especially for the Irish fans. So I'd go Kilcoyne, Cronin and Porter as your front row. Give them a crack from the start. It's still a very good front row. Very dynamic. Cronin, can he take his chance again? I'd actually put Delan in for a start. I think he's a good player. I potentially touted him as a slightly better player than Quinn Roux, who I've left on the bench. I'd stick with James Ryan just for a bit of continuity. Toyed with resting him, but he's young. I think he can take playing 5 games potentially with those 2 weeks off before and after the Italy game. Sean O'Brien, I would keep running at 7. He needs game time. He is class. He's not quite there yet. Conan staying at 8, and I'd probably bring Murphy in at 6 for a run with Ruddock on the bench covering all the back row. Cooney, I'd start at number 2, as the number 2-9, starting at 9. Clearly here I'm giving Amani rest, Murray a rest, I'm going to give Sexton a rest, Healy, Furlong a rest. I think it's worth doing for sure. Some of them have got some knocks anyway, like Sexton. So Cooney's got a big chance there to make a statement at number 9. I think we're going to have Marmion fit to put some pressure on him, so that's going to be a nice head-to-head battle. Hopefully they'll both get some similar sort of game time there, so we can see a proper comparable comparison of those guys. Carberry for a nice start at 10, possibly even play the whole game, that would be great. Leaving Earls out there, I still think he needs a bit of time to find his top form. Give Aki and Farrell another run. I know I wasn't convinced by it in the last game, but it could be a combination they might need to use, so let's give them a run again against a slightly weaker opposition. Can we see Farrell really show what he can do? I'm going to give Lama a start on the wing. He needs a start. He can't just sit on the bench for the whole time. And he's not at fullback because I think it's worth running Henshaw at fullback one more time. People have criticised him from the England game. Yes, he wasn't perfect, but it was probably the most intense baptism you could ever get at international 15, or he hasn't played there for a long time. So I think against Italy it'll be a much better game to get him some game time if he's going to be a replacement 15. And then on the bench I'm going to go McGrath, Ryan, Scannell, front row, Quinn Roux and Ruddock as the other forwards replacements, then Marmion, Carty covering 10 and Addison in there fighting out probably for the number 23 shirt for the World Cup for Lama. Be interesting to see where he comes on. Comment below where you think they're going to want to try and use Addison, possibly 13, 15, not sure. Anyway, let me know what you think about those teams. Comment below. There's a week off before the next game, so there's plenty of time to comment, and I'll be interested to know your thoughts. Let me know if I've missed any injuries there or got something wrong. That'd be great. Anyway, enjoy until next time. I will see you then.